to our Toastmasters meeting today, February 5th, 1998. One of the things I was thinking about this morning before I came is that this time of year, there's a certain holiday I'd like to celebrate that is still, some people know about it, and it's called Random Acts of Kindness Week. And what I would like to do to start out is give each of you two of these suckers. And the purpose is, one of the suckers is for you, and the other one is to give to a friend. Okay.
Wonderful idea.
And so, you can enjoy your sucker either now or later. If you're giving a speech, you may want to make that definitely later. And then sometime today or tomorrow, give it to a friend, and you might even want to give both of them to somebody, but it's your choice. And the idea behind Random Acts of Kindness is that it's something unsolicited that you're not expecting a response back from, and it's a nice surprise. And they may not even, you may not know the person, or they may not know you, or they may not know why you did it, and that's fine. It's just to promote the idea that a little kindness every once in a while can make a difference in people's lives. So I wanted to share that with you today. Well, we have an exciting meeting today, and I think it's promising for some adventure and some very interesting speeches. I would like to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, Betty Ferrace, who will be introducing the people that will be evaluating the speeches today. Betty Ferrace.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I would like to introduce our staff and my assistants of evaluators today. The first one is our grammarian and the counter. Kristen, would you please tell us what kind of job you're doing today? And the word of the day, exactly. And you can stand right there, you can come up front here.
I'll stay here.
Okay.
Do I have to stand?
Yes.
Toastmasters. First of all, as grammarian, I will be looking for proper use of English language and things like ums and ahs and word breaks, whatever. And secondly, my word of the day is detritus, which I saw 3 times in 1 week, and I thought I had to use this because I've never seen it before. It's rock fragments, etc. from disintegration, disintegrated matter or debris, and it can also be used figuratively. So one example I remember, it talked about the detritus of 70s pulp culture, and I had to look it up. I had no idea what that would be. So that is our word for the day.
Did you bring tape?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
You can set it up there.
Could you pronounce it first?
Detritus.
Detritus. Thank you very much, Kristen. And our speech evaluator today is Darren Ecker. Darren, would you tell us what you'll be looking for today?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I will be evaluating Anthony's 5th speech, Vocal Variety. In this speech, I will be looking at his topic selection, his preparation, his voice volume, his speaking rate, vocal pitch, vocal tone, vocal vitality, articulation, vocal variety, body language, and organization. And so, where some of the other speeches we've paid attention to the structure of the speech, your gestures, this one we will be listening more to the speech than watching him with his movements or the structure. The focus is now the vocal variety of Anthony's speech. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. And the timer today, Arlene, would you tell us what you'll be doing today?
Madam General Evaluator, Toastmasters values a sense of time and a sense of keeping within the limits of the meeting. And so it's my job to time the speech, first of all. Anthony's speech will be 5 to 7 minutes, and so at 5 minutes I will hold up the green card for him to see. At 6 minutes I'll hold up the yellow card, and at 7 minutes I'll hold up the red card. and in my final report, I'll report on the actual number of minutes that he speaks. We also time our table topics presentations, which are a total of 1 to 2 minutes. So I will hold up the green card at 1 minute, the gold card at 1.5 minutes, and the red card at 2 minutes. Our evaluation reports may be up to 3 minutes, and in that case I hold up the green card at, if that's right, 2 minutes, yellow card at 2.5 minutes, and the red card at 3 minutes. That's an evaluation.
Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, that's what our assistants will be doing today during the meeting.
Next, I would like to introduce the speech of the day, Anthony Eaton. Anthony will be doing his 5th speech, Vocal Variety. Title of the speech, A Fairy Tale, Anthony Eaton.
Mr. Postmaster. When we grew up, most of us had the opportunity to hear the classic fairy tales. As adults, we probably remember a lot of those fairy tales and maybe still have a favorite. For me, I've always been partial to the 3 Little Pigs. Recently, when I was surfing on the internet, I had an opportunity to read a modern version of the 3 Little Pigs. So with a little embellishment from myself, I would like to share that with you today. Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs who lived together in mutual respect and harmony with their environment. One day, the pigs decided it was time to move out into the world and explore their individuality. The first 2 pigs were very frugal and concerned with the amount of time that it would take to build themselves new homes. This translates to they were very cheap and they liked to goof off. So the first little pig, he decided that he would build his house of straw. That would only take a day, and then he would have time to go out and play. Taking only a little bit longer than the first pig, the second pig decided that he would build his house of sticks. It would be quick, 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 and he'd be able to join that first little pig out playing in the sun. The third little pig, having learned the value of using materials of high quality, decided to build his house of bricks. Many weeks passed while the third little pig built his house. The first 2 pigs thought he was foolish, wasting lots of time and money. When they were all finished, each pig was quite satisfied and impressed with the job he had done in building his house. So they settled back to live in peace and self-determination. But soon their ideal was shattered when one day along came a big bad wolf with expansionist ideas. Seeing these peace-loving, naturalist pigs, he grew hungry in both the physical and ideological sense. Spotting the wolf, who, by the way, was poorly dressed in sheep's clothing, and smoking a non-filter cigarette, the 3 little pigs ran to the house of straw and barricaded the door. Up to the door the wolf ran, tossing his cigarette to the side and starting a small brush fire, where he yelled, little pigs, let me in, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow this cheaply made house of straw in." To this the 3 united pigs shouted, "Your gunboat tactics held no fear for pigs defending their home and their culture." Not to be denied what he believed to be his manifest destiny, the big bad wolf huffed and puffed and blew that straw house in. Being physically fit from long days of playing and working in the sun, the three little pigs ran to the house of sticks, where again they barricaded the door. At the house of sticks, the wolf yelled again, "Little pigs, let me in, or I'll huff and I'll puff, and I will blow this bad excuse of a log house in." The pig shouted back, "You don't scare us with your carnivorous, imperialistic oppression ways." Again, the wolf huffed, coughed a little bit, puffed, coughed a little more, puffed, and blew that house in. Since he was so tired, he must take a break, smoke another cigarette, thus giving those little pigs time to run to the house of bricks. Where the house of sticks once stood, other wolves erected a series of timeshare condos, destroying the beautiful land. At the house of bricks, the wolf yet again shouted, little pigs, let me in, or I will huff and I will puff, and I will blow this house in." This time, in response, the three little pigs sang songs of solidarity and wrote long, wordy letters to Amnesty International. By now, the poorly dressed wolf was so angry at the pig's refusal to meet his carnivorous ways that he began huffing and puffing, but then suddenly grabbed his chest and dropped dead of a massive heart attack, brought on by too much fatty food and too many cigarettes. To this, the three little pigs rejoiced that justice had triumphed and proceeded to liberate their homeland, where they created a model socialist democracy with free education and affordable housing for all. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll now take about a minute to evaluate Anthony's speech. Okay. At this point, I would like to introduce Betty Ferrace, who will be our table topics person. Betty Ferrace, come up and do table topics for us, please. Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster. Coming up in just a little over a week is a holiday called President's Day. It is in commemoration of two very famous presidents whose birthdays fall in February, Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Washington. Combined together, we now have a holiday called President's Day. When I think about that holiday coming up, I think of two things. One is that I have a day off from work. My husband does not, and he thinks we have too many holidays. And second of all, I think about speeches. And I think about the kind of speeches that these kind of men gave. And I remember when I was growing up, memorizing pieces of speeches was part of my education, my public school education. And when I thought back on the most famous speech of all that I had to memorize, way back when, probably 4th, 5th, 6th grade, it was a Gettysburg Address. You probably remember it too. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth from this nation this continent, a new nation. I don't remember it as well as I thought, etc., etc. Today for table topics, I would like to call on people with this topic. Think about a speech that you have heard in the past, not one that you have memorized, not one that you will memorize for us or recite to us, but one that left some impression on you. Tell us who gave it and why it left an impression, and what the overall topic of it was. Arlene.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, the speeches that I've heard, I must say, often leave a very positive impression on me. And I marvel at the skill of public speakers who can use words effectively and convey them effectively and bring an emotional content with them that makes us listen. I have to confess, my memory is not very good, though. I have a very short-term memory, so I think I'm not going to give you the kinds of details you asked for. But there are speakers that I remember. Barbara Jordan is one of the most powerful speakers that comes to my mind, because even from her wheelchair, although often on television we didn't see that, so we probably weren't aware of the height in the same way that a live audience would have been. Her very slow speaking pace always impressed me. Another is President Clinton in his informal way, although there are times that I wish he would be more formal. Presidents, I think, are people we often tend to watch. Those are the people I think of right now.
Thank you very much. Kristen, would you like to respond?
Do I need to?
Just something. Someone that you've heard.
Madam, or topic master, excuse me.
Two hats.
One speaker that has impressed me recently is the pastor of our church. My husband and I just joined over a year ago. And one of the reasons we joined was because of our pastor's speeches. Well, actually, it's called them sermons. He's given so many, I cannot think of specific ones, but he always seems to tie in the topic to our daily lives, but also he doesn't gloss over things, and he doesn't always intend to make everyone feel, oh, it's so great we're in church, it's so great we're Christian, yeah, we're doing the right thing. He also reminds us that we sin and that we have a long way to go, and that we can only turn to Jesus in the end. And there's just so many things he's talked about, and I liked how in different sermons I've heard, he's brought in Dennis Rodman. He brought in the movie Dead Man Walking. Those are two examples I can think of, and I thought it's just amazing that he'll bring in things that are in the public view and tie them into what message he's trying to get across to his congregation. So I've been very impressed with him.
Thank you. Darren, would you like to respond?
Madam Topic Master, I can remember that left an impact on me it was more about the individual himself and just the guts he had to do this, or the need he may have had to do this. I'm a bit like Arlene. I don't remember many in particulars, and this is a little bit less meaningful maybe of a speech, but Al Gore at the Democratic Convention, when he stood up and was going to talk to the group, and he's someone that is very stiff and very stoic, and that was a problem for him. And how Al Gore inserted a little humor in his speech was one point that I just remember out of the whole convention. You know, talk about all the stuff that's, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but all the stuff that's discussed and talked about in the speeches and what they try to accomplish. And I remember Al Gore's interpretation of the Margarita, and how he did that at the speech. And that he does have a sense of humor, and he is able to poke fun at himself. And sometimes in a speech, if you really want to get the audience to feel something with you, putting yourself on the line, putting yourself in front of them, and being able to poke fun at yourself can really bring them back into the speech that you're doing and can get them focused on what you want to say at that point. And I was impressed that he really did a very good job of that and was able to poke fun at himself and poke fun at his stoicism that he's known for. And so that was what I would say of the speeches recently, the one thing that I remember that that seems to hit me first anyway. Madam Topic Master.
Thank you. Anthony, it's unfair to call on you, but if you'd like to respond.
I would.
Good.
And topic master. Recently, I had the opportunity to hear Helen Thomas speak, who is with United UPI, when I was in St. Louis for a convention. And I was not very familiar with who she was or her background. She is the #1 press person for the White House. And her speech had to do greatly with the presidency. She's been around a great many years and she has seen a great many presidents. And she neither lent her support to any presidents, yet she never talked badly about them. But she made you, through humor, look at how difficult each of the different presidents' job must have been, their trials and tribulations, including our current president and his current trials and tribulations. But it made you realize that there was much more than those specific things that they are remembered for, whether it be Nixon, Watergate, Kennedy, the assassination, Clinton, whatever he may be remembered for, that those are not the single things that made up their whole presidency. And I was quite impressed with her. So that would have to be mine. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe it's time to vote. If you would put down your heads, raise your hand when I mention. The one that you would vote for is giving the best topic speech for today. The first one, raise your hand for Arlene Satram. Thank you. Raise your hand if your vote is for Kristen Cleary. Thank you. Raise your hand if your vote is for Darren Acker. Thank you. Raise your hand if your vote is for Anthony Eaton. Thank you. All right. Today's Table Topic Award for Best Table Topics for today, February 5th, goes to Kristen Cleary. Kristen, congratulations. Wonderful. Well, I thank you very much for taking on this topic. I know it caught you a lot by surprise. And when Arlene mentioned that she couldn't remember speeches, I couldn't even remember the first line of the Gettysburg Address. I went on the internet, I kept thinking 420 years ago, 410 years ago. What was it? And I started to get very confused. So I went on the internet and I put up Gettysburg and picked the address as all the things I could have pulled on Gettysburg and immediately printed it off, so that saved me. I would certainly recommend that to anybody. But I was thinking that somebody may mention Martin Luther King's speech.
I had
because
thought of him
not long ago.
As my choice, but since she was more recent.
Mhm. It's interesting that often there are phrases we remember and not whole speeches anymore.
Right.
I think maybe speeches are getting too long.
I do not really recall any particular phrase or part of her speech. I remember the content of it, basic.
I will now, thank you, Madam Topic Master. We will now turn the meeting back over to Betty as our general evaluator. And she will introduce each of us who are doing evaluations today and give us the opportunity to share our evaluations with the group. Betty.
Mr. Toastmaster? Mr. Toastmaster. It's my job as general evaluator to call for reports from the people that are assisting me, and also then to give a general overview about how this meeting went and any things that I picked up during the course of the meeting that may be helpful to us. So the first person, the house of sticks is falling down and there's no wolf here. I will just straddle it if you don't mind. Okay. All right, the first person I'm going to call on then is our speech evaluator. Darren, would you tell us about Anthony's speech, please?
Madam General Evaluator, Anthony, I think, gave an excellent speech, and I would like to say that I think his topic selection was very good. I think one of the best ways to practice vocal variety and use vocal variety is in storytelling. And I think there's a lot of what you did today that you can use in your other speeches. They're great examples of vocal variety that you can use in your other speeches. I also like that you did reference where you got this. I think that's important when we do stories and do speeches. Even if you've changed it some or doing a quote, that we not plagiarize. It's very much easier to plagiarize in a speech than it is in writing, but it's important to always give credit, even if there's not necessarily a definite author, so that you're not taking credit for 100% credit for something you didn't do, and I was glad you did that. Preparation I thought was excellent. I also have seen Anthony prepare this a little bit, so I kind of was prepared for what was going on, but it helps with the evaluation because I can see the progress and see what he's done. I thought you did a great job of reading it. I think if you wanted to improve, it would be memorization, and that's pretty obvious. But you really had almost all of it memorized, and when we get into the vocal variety, there are some very big words in there, and I think some fun words to use in a speech like this. The articulation was well done. The speaking rate was well done. I thought at the beginning you were a little nervous and it took you a while to get into it. And I think that also happens with storytelling. If you haven't done enough storytelling, you start out the story and before the audience is in it with you, it's kind of hard to break the ice to get into it. And I thought once you broke that ice, you shone up there with your speech, and I was really impressed with that. Vocal pitch, vocal tone, vocal vitality, articulation, and vocal variety I thought were all very well done. The one word, you know what it is probably, wolf. It's a tendency to say woof and versus wolf, and that this speech was filled with words that are difficult to say, especially when you string them all together. That was the only word that every once in a while would switch into wolf instead of wolf, but I thought it was well done. Your body language, I thought was very good. Your facials were excellent. The facials, when you scrunched up your face and even one eyebrow went up a little bit above the other one, I thought that was fantastic. And you even switched characters somewhat in between, and I think that you got more comfortable with the different characters you were dealing with. You might, as you do stories or speeches, work on that more. I think that's an area that can always be developed. That there's a more definition between characters, but I thought with what you did, it was great. The one thing you do also in body language that I do too, and Joy was the one that pointed out to me, is we have a comfort level right here. And we end up like this, or like this, or like this, and to practice this more, and do gestures from here versus here. And I'm terrible at it, I know, and that may be why I picked it up a little bit on you. It's a comfort level, and I think there's a need to protect ourselves again, and if we don't have a podium in front of us, you want to protect yourself somehow, and so you throw those hands right in front of you. And I'm always, you'll notice even when I do speeches, and please comment if you think I'm doing it more, but I noticed it in yours too, maybe trying to throw your hands down by the side. And I know that's not the focus of your speech, but that was one thing I noticed that you might want to work on. But the facial expressions and all of that definitely outweighed that a little bit, because I was very excited about that. The organization, I thought for telling a story, I thought you did a great job, and giving the intro is appropriate. And so I was very excited, and I thought it was very well done, and I think there's a lot of skills in there that you can use, like I said, in other speeches, and it's good. Well done. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. Eileen, can you give us a timer report, please?
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. Anthony's speech was 5 minutes and 50 seconds, so he was just comfortably within the time limits, minimum and the maximum. In table topics, your introduction, I think, was 1 minute and 36 seconds. So it was just at that point you called on me, and so it threw me off balance. And I'm less sure of my own time. but it looks like it was just shortly under 2 minutes, which was probably too long for what I had to say. But at least was within the maximum. Kristen was 1 minute and 10 seconds, Darren was 1 minute 41 seconds, and Anthony was 1 minute 26 seconds. Darren's evaluation was 4 minutes and 10 seconds. That's where we
Thank you. And our grammarian and awe counter and word of the day person, Kristen Cleary.
Well, no one used my word of the day. This is the second time it's happened, but that's all right. I will try again.
Word though.
It is a very good word.
I'm trying to introduce new words. As far as ahs and ums, Anthony's speech was perfect. But then during his table topic, just one Betty, you had a little somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. Nothing to worry about. I just want to comment that I think Anthony and Arlene are very good about pausing and taking their time before speaking, so it's very hard for me to catch any little vocal things that they're saying, so I just wanted to say I appreciate that. But it's hard. I can't catch you. Darren is a very quick speaker, so I think because he's rushing to get thoughts out, he says uhs and ums a little bit more, and you also threw in a couple you knows in your evaluation of Anthony's speech, just so you know that. That's very important.
Thank you. As general evaluator, I think we had a very smooth meeting today. Actually went rather quickly. I look at the clock and it's really rolling, and we still have 15 minutes to go. And I don't think we have to fill the whole hour, but I think this was an extremely informative meeting. I think that the speech was just delightful. I had such a difficult time keeping from laughing out loud. It was biting my lips during the whole time. And it had a very good message to it, plus being entertaining. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Kristen, you have come so far now with 2 table topic awards, which I think is pretty spectacular. So we're expecting big things continually coming from your direction. The room is a little warm for me today. I don't know if that's affecting you, but I think if I stayed here another half hour, I would probably start feeling very dozy. So perhaps next time we ought to check the thermostat and make sure that it's down, or maybe we'll need to open the door and air it out or something like that too. But I appreciate again that people stepped in for a change in roles. We're getting very good at that. Flexibility may be our nickname for this club. With so few members, we're so used to taking all kinds of roles now, and we're starting to feel more and more comfortable with it. And I appreciate the fact that Bill's videotaping this today, and this is going to be very interesting in order to see what this all looks like. But it's also difficult not to hear from Bill today. This is the first time we've had Bill here for a meeting when he's absolutely been quiet. And we only see a squinting eye looking at us. That's as much as I have today, Mr. Toastmaster. Perhaps some other people have comments, but that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. I would agree with you. It was a great meeting and a very entertaining meeting. I had a lot of fun today. The only other thing I would add to the evaluations is when we get small like this, we tend not to clap and acknowledge each other as we're going out to the front of the room, and I think we could improve upon that a bit. But I think that's it. And thank you for all the comments today. I thought it was well done. I encourage you to practice random acts of kindness. There are many ways you can do that. There are many things you can do other than this. If you want suggestions, I would be more than happy to give them to you. There's also books available about random acts of kindness, and I heard that this year's book is on animals and acts of kindness either from animals or to animals. I have not read it yet, but most stores do carry the random acts of kindness books, and so I think I'm going to have to go out and buy that later today and give that to a friend who likes the random acts of kindness books and also animals. So I will be doing that. Are there any other closing comments or thoughts that people would like to share?
I'll make a couple of comments. First, thanks to our VP of Education who always prepares our meetings so thoughtfully and well. And we appreciate that. And our goal is not to learn to jump into other people's roles and not to have to do that. That is, so we need to keep that in mind. But that's preaching to the choir too, because we obviously are here. Then one last comment, we need to remember that this is a lectern, not a podium. A podium is what we stand on. I've been calling that before,
Oh.
so,
Correct. Excellent. Thank you.
so,
Thanks for
something you could
reminding
remember.
us.
Thank you.
That would be a
Hadn't
good
thought of that.
word of the day. It would be lectern.
Thank you.
Lectern.
Any other comments or thoughts? Well, with that, I will adjourn today's meeting. We will be meeting on February 11th. The address is on your agenda. There was some talk, I guess, aside from the meeting, there was some talk about doing
Carpool?
carpooling. And our group from VOA will be carpooling.
And Arlene and I are going together.
Okay.
We may not get there
Do you know
early.
where it's at?